everyday world to help us solve our most critical global problems. Matri is not a religious leader, but an educator in the broadest sense. He is here to help inspire us to create a new era based on sharing and justice so that all may have the basic necessities of life, food, shelter, health care, and education. His open mission in the world is about to begin. As Maitreya himself has said, soon now, very soon, you will see my face and hear my words. And so he's definitely making plans, folks, for his physical appearance here on Earth. And we know that May, June, and July are dominant months for his arrival. If he should arrive in May or June, you could expect pretty much a full-out invasion of Nephilim and Anunnaki in July. I've been warning for years that there's a full-out Nephilim invasion coming for the month of July. And you have to think about it. If they need another terrorist attack to get their world in shape and ready to embrace these kinds of leaders, I mean, what do you do with something that's even more significant than taking down the World Trade Towers? And you follow some of the wordings themselves, some of the warnings from our own politicians and our own president and our own generals who talk about the next terrorist attack. And it's not something they're pulling off their hats, folks, at the top of their heads, because they're waiting for it anxiously to happen. They plan this stuff. This stuff doesn't just happen. And some of the things that you always hear them talking about is a massive casualty event, massive casualties, and then they either usually give one or two hints in it being a chemical attack or it being some kind of suitcase nuclear attack. And so it's going to be pretty much we could expect one of those two things. One thing definitely is it's going to be a massive casualty attack. I mean, it's going to kill many, many people. And this is the kind of thing that they have planned ahead. And this is the kind of thing they need so that they can start putting this country under martial law. And, you know, the Lord's been telling me about martial law and what it's going to do to this country and some of the things that are coming. And this week I wrote an article called A Call to Arms. And what I did was I went through and I pointed out some of the things that the Lord has been leading me to see, and then gave a direct word that he gave me in it. And I'm going to go through that article tonight in between callers. You can give me a call at 260-356-2611. And I started off with this article. Definitely took a twist from when I started writing it to what it turned out to be. And that's usually what happens when the Lord has a hand in whatever you're doing. You know, you start one way, and he'll just lead it to a totally different way. And I've talked about before on the show, and I'm going to get into it later if I have the time, about martial law and Rex 84 and Operation Garden, whatever you want to call it, Garden Spot, Cable Splicer. You can look at some of these terms in Google and pull up information on it. But that's what I'm going to do later is talk about some of that if I have more time, because I've talked about that before. But I want to bring it up again because I know a lot of people think it's fear-mongering. And folks, you know, if you think waking people up and trying to warn them about what is coming is fear-mongering, then, you know, go stick your head back in the sand. You know, it's our job to warn the Lord's people about what's coming so they can be prepared, so they can take measures to protect themselves and their families. And there's certainly no fear in knowledge. In fact, when you know what's coming, it gives you more time to be able to prepare both mentally and psychologically and physically for the things that are coming. And the Lord's always warned his people. He's always said he would warn his people and speak through his prophets about the things that are going to happen. And, of course, now every time you step online and try to say something, you have the government's agents or just the pure idiotic that will jump all over you and tell you you're spreading fear and you're fear-mongering. And, you know, if that's the case, then the Lord himself was the biggest fear-monger on the face of this planet because he's warned us over and over again about the coming tribulation period, about the coming judgment and the lake of fire. And so we need to pay attention to the things that he's speaking through his people in these last days. Listen to call line 260-356-2611. Give me a call if you have a comment or question. One of the biggest dilemmas facing many Christians today is what to do about persecutions coming against believers in this country. Is there something we can do? Can we defend ourselves against being taken prisoner and becoming a victim to increasing tyrannical oppression from our own government? Concentration camps have been built and planned since 1984, and transport trains of shackles lining the inside walls ready to lock people into place. And the New World Order is just around the corner. And everything, folks, is just a declaration of martial law away. Martial law is coming to this country, whether it is publicly declared or not. This has been in planning for a long time to those at the highest levels of our government and military, to traitors, presidents, and politicians who have passed legislation guaranteeing a lockdown and police state. We are in the middle of a scripted, phony war on terrorism to lead us eventually into martial law. This has all taken years, even decades, of planning inside the secret societies that control Washington. It's not if it will happen, but when it will happen. The New World Order is an overthrow of America, its Constitution, and its patriotic and Christian citizens. It seeks to diminish and then demolish the Constitution, replacing it with Patriot Acts that take away our freedoms, and what we had guaranteed under our Constitution are stamped out. No longer is there a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Under the Patriot Acts and the New World Order, those who resist our tyrannical form of government have only one right, and that's to die. And many will. You've heard Bush proclaim over and over again, those who not are with us are against us. And so that pretty much aligns it. When you think of who is us, who is he talking about? And of course, most couch potatoes are thinking he's talking about the goodwill of the country and speaking from a patriotic point of view. George Bush has sworn his loyalty to Lucifer. He's a skull and bonesman. He's a Satan ritual practicing, worshiping freak that is leading our government to the pit of hell, lulling many churches to sleep, lulling more people to sleep against him. And he's already stated openly that those who aren't with him are against him. So who was really against Bush? Well, every true believer in the Most High God is going to be against Bush. And we already are. And those waking up slowly to how evil this man really is, they don't realize Hitler quoted scripture the whole time he was in power. And they plan to take over, Lucifer plans to take over Babylon, over America in the last days, through the religious right. And that's how every regime has done it. They've done it through the religious aspect, religious arms of their governments. And, America's asleep. Most of the people are asleep. They don't see it coming. More than likely not, martial law will begin as a covert operation against Americans. Roundups will begin without public notice or mention of them. Mass amounts of people will be picked up at roadblocks, airports, and through middle-of-the-night home invasions by organized military and government abduction squads. In the name of terrorism and national defense, our government will target dissidents of America who are against Satanism and the New World Order. Plans are already leaked out and revealed by ex-intelligence agents reveal many dissidents are to be picked up out of their homes in the middle of the night. Anyone picked up whose name appears on an internment list will not have access to a lawyer, and neither will their families have any idea where their loved one is being taken. In many instances, perhaps some of these entire families will be taken. These dissident lists have been built from church tithing files, and this is mandatory, folks. It's mandatory for the churches to report to the state those who tithe and give money to them. So if you've given them a check, they've taken your address down, your name down, they take all of your information down, they have to report that to the state. It's part of the whole 501c3 status thing. Governments have also built their list based on library records, government data collection, and spying on internet forums, chat groups, lists, emails, groups, organizations, church affiliations. If you are a believer in the Most High, your name is likely on the list already. If you have spoken publicly about your belief in the Lord in any way, shape, or form, you're on a list. If you're not a Christian, but you've spoken publicly against the anti-New World Order as a patriot, you're on a list. The government tracks